Alright guys, how are we doing today? So I just recently had a trip away, and I just kind of wanted to express some of my thoughts, and kind of just like getting away these days, and how, you know, as I'm getting older, I'm finding actually in many ways, I almost kind of dread going away now. Like I used to kind of look forward to it, but I think as I'm getting older, like I don't quite seem to really. I just don't seem to enjoy it anymore. Like I don't know if it's an age thing or like I don't know what it is, but it's just I don't know. I just kind of find like holidays a bit kind of irritating these days more than they used to be for me. And I think the reason for that is because as I'm getting older, my tolerance level's dropping. And so I'm getting more easily irritated by people, by situations, and just normal everyday shit really that just kind of like that pisses me off really quickly. I used to quite like going to the coast and spending time, away from home. But I suppose in the end, though, I think it's just because I spend so much time alone, by myself, and just alone with my own thoughts and my own issues, and without anyone to really talk about things with, and kind of just deal, to find somebody to kind of just help me, just for someone to talk to, really. It's I don't know. I just think that it gets more difficult as you get older. Life doesn't feel quite as vibrant as it used to. Trips away. I used to love going to the coast when I was a kid. I used to love just being by the ocean and things like that. I always kind of loved that stuff. What I'm finding as I'm getting older, it's just the novelty's kind of worn off. It just doesn't, and things just don't excite me as much anymore as they used to. Like I used to love gaming when I used to play a lot of stuff on the PS2 and on Xbox when I was younger, and my older brother used to as well. And sometimes with my younger brother we'd like duo on games and things like that, and I don't know, just things just aren't the same anymore. It's entertainment. It's not the same. I know the world just feels very different to me these days than it used to even a decade ago. I feel different towards it. I always kind of feel a bit kind of indifferent. I think that's the word that sums me up the best these days, I suppose. I don't quite have the extremes that I used to. There were times in my life where I've been like massively, like when I was a teenager, and getting the attention of that girl you really liked at school or whatever. That was like there was such a thrill of it. I can't really think of anything worse, to be honest with you. Like I just things that like things that in my past that I would have once done anything for. Like I kind of just like I just find it so cringeworthy now. As someone of my age, just to kind of look back on it all. I know this video is not about that specifically, but it's kind of just connected to the whole thing. I just don't really enjoy like going away that much anymore. It's just all the, I don't know, just everything just seems like really difficult to deal with these days. You know, it's all, and I think a big part of it is that there's so much of that expectation of, you know, what's going to happen, the experience of it all. That, you know, by the time you actually get to where you're going, it's already kind of underwhelming. You know, it's already kind of like, it's just, and that makes me sound really ungrateful. Like I don't appreciate the chance to go away, or like, you know, I just don't value life or something. I do value life, you know. I certainly wouldn't want to die anytime soon, but I don't know. It's just a general sort of indifference sort of vibe to everything. This kind of. It's just, it's not even just so much as the holiday, really. I think it's just people. I'm finding it, as I'm getting older, I'm really finding it really challenging to deal with other people's shit, really. I'm just like really genuinely finding it more and more difficult to deal with other people's annoying habits and rhetoric, just, you know, repetitive, predictable rhetoric, and I don't know, just the same old shit, you know. It's like you go somewhere and you think to yourself, oh, I'm going to have a good trip here. It's like, and it's just always the same crap every time, you know. It's just always the same shallow, superficial crap, you know. And then when you come back, it's like you come back feeling worse than you did before you went, and you just think to yourself, well, why did I even bother going, you know? You have these high hopes that you're going to feel better when you come back off your holiday, or suddenly you're going to feel a bout of inspiration and motivation, and you come back and just think, I wish I hadn't bothered, to be honest. I just wish I hadn't fucking left my house. Because it's just so disappointing, the outside world these days. I don't know if it's just me, but I don't know, just everything just feels a bit shitty, doesn't it? Like everything just feels a bit kind of just like worn down and tired and overdone, and like people just sort of like trying so hard now to kind of just stay relevant and fresh and part of the modern world. It's like I don't even know what the world really represents anymore. Really, you know? I genuinely don't know what the world is anymore, and I don't know my place in it anymore. I don't know where I fit into it. As someone in his mid-30s, I really genuinely don't know, like, I don't know what it is. I don't know. Sometimes I don't even know what I'm supposed to be feeling anymore. Like, I don't, and sometimes I catch myself analysing what I am feeling. Now, am I supposed to be feeling this? You know, so you have this kind of like meta-analysis type thing of like, this constant over like analysation of everything. And is that a word? Overanalyzation. Anyway, just this constant, just annoying, like feeling like, oh, I've got to be thinking this, I've got to be feeling this, I've got to be showing a certain level of enthusiasm on my face, and yeah, that's just getting fucking really tiring as I'm getting older. Honestly, like that whole thing of like accommodating everybody all the time to make them feel like, you know, to make their interpretation of the holiday better for them. And even what I mean by that, it's not so much that I'm like not enjoying, it's just that I can't always like meet other people's set like levels of energy and enthusiasm all the time. Like I try, don't get me wrong, I really genuinely do try to be tolerant, and you know, but the problem is you can go over the top. You can go to the extremes where it's like that. It just becomes this never-ending thing of like anxiety over like, well, I wonder what other people are like thinking about or feeling about me like on this trip, and like it's like is everyone, and you just start worrying about all sorts of things that have got nothing to do with you. It's like, you know, are they enjoying it? You know, what are they reacting? You know, are they not liking the way I'm looking right now? Are they not, you know, are they thinking that I'm thinking something bad about them, whatever it is? It's this sort of constant, sort of nagging, sort of like paranoia about things, and yeah, just this anxiety and the social anxiety, well, I've noticed that's ramped up in recent years. Like, I really don't like being out in public that much these days. I mean, I never really did, if I'm being honest with you. Like, I've never really been much of a kind of high fly when it comes to socialising, which kind of says a lot about me and speaks volumes about my kind of trajectory to this point. But I don't know. Just socialising to me, it's just so much work, so much energy, and I just think to myself, I just can't be bothered really. I really just can't be bothered. And I know I know that that's not good for you. It's not good for you to just stay in the house 24 hours a day and just stare at the same four walls. And obviously that's not going to do any good for you. But then you go outside and you just you go outside your front door with so many high expectations for yourself, and you just think, I'm going to really make an effort this time to be happy. I'm going to really genuinely make an effort to be positive and optimistic, and then within an hour you just think, fuck this shit. I just can't. There's no way I can maintain this like level of consistency. There's just no way. It's not going to happen, and you just give in. You just stop living in denial, and you just think so. But you mean so well though. You really just anticipate like going out there with a smile on your face and keeping it up, and just level of, like I said, enthusiasm and energy and sort of buoyancy about yourself, and you just end up failing so miserably. And the thing is, people can see it as well. People know when you're uncomfortable, and especially as an introvert, like extroverts can sniff that stuff a mile away. They almost prey on it. I kind of, in a way, I think they love all that kind of like sense of like power over your sense of comfort and stuff, and I think that they deliberately try and sabotage it, your sense of contentment in the moment, and do things that they know that are going to piss you off and that you don't want to do. And it's just, for example, like sometimes I've been put in situations where like the person I'm with, they want to meet up with someone or something or whatever. Obviously they know full well I don't want to meet up with that person or that person's friend or whatever, acquaintance. And I just find it. I just kind of just think to myself, like, why do I put myself in these circumstances? Like, why am I always like trying to accommodate everybody else all the time? It's like, especially on holiday, it's like, why do I do that? I know, coming on the ride home this afternoon, I was just like, it's because I feel pressured. I feel this pressure all the time. I've always got to be. Well, not with everybody, but with certain types of people, I always just sense this thing of they're expecting something from me, so I've got to live up to it. You know what I mean? It's almost like yeah, it's like social. It's like this kind of social performative character personality type stuff. It's like this sense of you've always got to be on with certain people. It's like you can't show a moment of weakness. You can't show a moment of normality. You can't show a moment of God forbid, just being yourself. Because that's the thing is, like, I think there are just some people that I think just are naturally a bit more kind of some people just have a more heightened sense of like, I don't know what you would call it. Some people are just more naturally buoyant than others. I think some people are just more naturally capable of like handling certain awkwardness and pressure and stress and discomfort. I think some people can hide it better than others, and I'm not someone that can hide my discomfort very well. I have to say. Don't get me wrong, I obviously try, but I think it's obvious. It shows in photos, it shows in video. It's just obvious. People can see it when they know I'm not absolutely thrilled in the moment about something or whatever it is. And that bothers me. That gets to me because I know how that can make other people uncomfortable. I know how that can make situations awkward for other people. And I don't mean to. It's never a conscious thing. It's just that's just how I am as a person. I just don't. I have a very, very, very small amount of tolerance, and I have much less tolerance now than I did when I was in my 20s. Like in my 20s, I was more like willing to do certain things. I wanted to do things. I wanted to get out there and socialise and meet people and stuff. But now I'm reaching 40, like I couldn't give a fuck anymore, to be honest. I just find most people kind of dull and just not very interesting, not very just not on my wavelength really. It's not that doesn't mean that it doesn't necessarily mean that they're not interested. It's just I just didn't personally find them interesting. You know, I just didn't think that they just weren't right for me. You know, just as I haven't been the right type of person for other people in their lives, and that's okay. It's fine. You know, I don't expect everybody to. I don't. You know, obviously, I'm not delusional. Not everyone's going to like me. Not everyone's going to want to be around me. You know, not everyone's going to want to listen to me. And that's fine. That's okay. That's life. You know, you just have to accept that. You know, you're not everyone's cup of tea, as we like to say in England. You know, and there's nothing wrong in that. You know, each to their own, and you know, you got to find your own little clique. You know, you've got to find your own little tribe, your own little posse in this world. Especially when you go on holidays. Like, I think it really is important that you go with the right people because, you know, I think there's so much like stress and pressure on holidays that we tend to like gloss over. Like we have these. We anticipate this super relaxing experience, or this, you know. So we have high expectations for our holidays because, you know, we've either been saving up and waiting for, you know, months or a year or years, and so we build up such a level of anticipation over it that by the time you get to it, it's kind of not quite. Well, sometimes things are better than you expect. Sometimes things are much worse, or sometimes kind of things are just like, oh, it was all right. And that's the thing is when, and the worst part about it is when other people are enjoying it more than you. That's something I've always found massively difficult to deal with. Because like, how do you navigate that? Like, how do you actually deal with that? You know, how do you deal with a situation where, you know, it's like somebody finds something funny and you don't, you know, it's like, or somebody finds somebody more interesting than you do, or something someone's saying is interesting to them but not to you, or all that kind of stuff. I just find it. Yeah, I've just never really dealt with like awkwardness very well as a person, and I've tried to like build sort of like a resilience towards it over the years, I think, both consciously and subconsciously, I suppose, in some ways. But I guess even now, like even with my partner, it's like there's situations where you know that thing people do where like they're sort of laughing at something they find hysterical, you know, like you know, when they're laughing at something that they find hilarious and that they're hysterical about it, when I can get the words right. And you don't. And for me, I just want to run away. You know, all that kind of like that weight of awkwardness and cringe starts like it's like a red mist, like just comes over you and just think, oh god. And then you start going into like anxiety overdrive and like yeah, and then, you know, there's just the discomfort, whether you like it or not, just comes across your face, and it's written all over your body language, and you just can't hide it. You know, no matter what you say. In fact, and sometimes the more you try to hide it, the worse it is, the more obvious it becomes. So yeah, I don't know. It's very difficult, isn't it, dealing with people? It's very difficult dealing with reality sometimes because especially if you're someone that's not neurotypical, if you're someone that's not a naturally extrovert, then it becomes, it's exhausting even before things happen, because you're kind of like on edge. You're kind of in that sort of heightened state of kind of like almost defensive mode. Like you kind of like you're waiting for things to happen, so you can't quite relax. It's because you're worried about what you're going to say, how you're going to be. How you're going to, you're on edge about how you're going to be judged and criticised, and just being in public anyway. I've never particularly liked. I think a lot of it stems from my teenage years. I always had a problem with people like looking at me, and I don't mean that in some sort of like paranoid schizophrenic type of sense. I just mean like, I don't know. I'm not. I know this might sound kind of weird given my channel, but I'm not actually someone that particularly likes attention. Actually, I actually don't particularly like being in the spotlight, which may come as a surprise to some people who might think I have an overblown ego or something like that, or delusions of grandeur, which I don't. Trust me. But yeah, in social settings, I really just kind of crumble a lot of the time. I don't know. It's not for me, really. As I'm getting older, I'm just like, I just kind of value my own space, my own peace, my own just privacy, really. But again, like I said, just a few minutes ago, it's like you can't just live like that either. You just can't, can you? You can't just stay in your house every single day, like for the rest of your life. It's like you'll just become, you'll just turn into a goblin or something. And if not, eventually you'd be carted away in a straitjacket to the nearest mental health institution. Because you would just literally just go mad eventually, I reckon. Like you'd become so institutionalized and so fucked up in so many different ways that I think you would just go mad. You'd go berserk. And if you didn't, then you'd end up slitting your wrists at some point, probably. Something to be graphic about it, but like, I think you would. So obviously you have to leave your house at some point. I mean, you have to anyway. You've got to go out at some point to do your shopping, or unless you're ordering online or whatever. But it's like, I mean, I don't hate going out the door. The problem is I actually enjoy being outside. I enjoy being out in nature. I enjoy going out and just spending some time in the fresh air. But it's when I come into contact with like people in and of them, like as individuals, I can kind of tolerate. Like I find them less taxing on my the flaws of my personality. But as far as like socializing with like a few people, for me, I've never really been that great at that. Because a part of it's probably because I'm insecure, I admit. But as someone that just, even I don't like having to accept that it's the truth. As someone that's a neurodivergent, introverted, deep thinker, or a philosopher, if you like. Oh, I don't think that might be a bit of an exaggeration. I don't know. I just find I understand. Look, you can't have deep, meaningful conversations all the time with everybody you meet. I understand that. There are certainly limits, and life's not perfect. You can't have it your own way all the time. I get that. That's just the way it is. But I just find it mentally and emotionally exhausting to have to force myself all the time to keep up this constant sort of facade, if you like. And it's not like sometimes you come across people where you don't quite have to put it on as much. And I'm not talking about being fake necessarily. I just mean like trying really hard to show enthusiasm and to try and be respectful and like to acknowledge what people are saying. And sort of be present and everything, but there are just some people that you just don't click with. There are just that just goes for all areas of life. That's why you only watch certain people on YouTube or TikTok or whatever social media platforms you use. Whatever pages you like. Why there's some you don't like. And it's the same thing in the real world. There are people you like, people you don't like, people you kind of like, people you want to like, but you can't for some reason. People you don't particularly like, but you don't know why. It's like or people you kind of like as and when you can tolerate short bursts of them. Probably a bit like my channel. It's probably 5 or 10 minutes of it, and it's like, oh, that's enough of him. Can get on my nerves now. That British accent's really annoying. So I think there's of course I'm self-conscious. I'm a little bit paranoid and anxiety prone because of some insecurities and just fears, really, just fears of being judged. And people are very judgmental. It's like you can just even if people don't say anything, sometimes you can just kind of, or they might not always be right. You can kind of sort of get an idea, more or less, or sort of you can get a few potential ideas of different things they might be thinking about, But usually you can kind of get an idea, I think, what someone is feeling or maybe thinking about you, judged on the way they look at you, Because it's not just the eyes; it's the body language, It's the eyes, the face. There's a lot of things that it can really reveal a lot about someone. And how they're perceiving you in that particular moment in time. And I just always find that shit really difficult. I don't know if other people have the same problem, but I've just never liked that. I always feel like I'm being judged all the time. Even when I'm making these videos, there's a certain level of self-conscious, kind of reserved, I suppose, a little bit of myself because of being reserved and trying not to swear, try and be polite as best as I can, but I try to be articulate as well. But it would be wrong of me to say that this is an exact version of myself, because it's not. This is me, my own little space in this particular moment. Relatively comfortable on my own for the time being until my partner gets back later. And this is just one facet of my life. This is just one part of it. You're not seeing the full picture, just as you don't see it with other people. So even when you spend time with people, you don't always truly really kind of get an accurate representation of who they are. And especially when you're on holiday, because generally speaking, most people, by the time they're actually in the place where they're on their holiday, they tend to be in a much better mood. They tend to be, they're kind of more willing to let stuff go slide for that time. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know how many couples go to their hotel swimming pool, or go down to the beach or wherever they're going, the spa or whatever. And I've been having a massive argument just a couple of days before, but for that 1 hour or so, they're just kind of willing to let shit slide, and then they'll continue that argument again later in the day, or a few days later when they're back home and the holiday blues are setting. Just to be clear about something here, it's that self-conscious thing kicking in. I know I stumble in my words and my sentences sometimes. It's because I'm thinking as I'm going along. I'm trying to put a coherent set of opinions, arguments, whatever, together. And sometimes I've got different things going on in my head. So sometimes I'm like, should I say this? Should I say that? So sometimes I might kind of stumble a bit in my videos, and I do apologise for that. Not that I have to apologise, but just wanted to kind of get that out there, really. But yeah, I don't know, holidays, man, what can you make of them? You know, they're supposed to be something that's relaxing and escapism for a couple, a day or a couple of days, whatever. I think really holidays really are meant for kids, people who've got kids, and really relationships that I think are, I would say in a good place. I think if your relationship's not in a particularly great place, there's not really much point in going on holiday, because I think really it's just kind of being it's a bit false, isn't it? If your relationship in marriage is already kind of like buckling, and you're naively hoping that holiday is somehow going to bring you back together, or is somehow going to like be the cure for your relationship based problems, then I think you've got another thing coming, because there's so much, people are so delusional, and like people go on holiday, they think, oh, everything's okay, everything's good, like we'll do this when we get back, we'll work on that, and then as soon as they touch back on their own soil, or their own front door of their homes, it's like all that kind of stuff, like it's almost like it never happened. It's like, I don't know, people just kind of live these really false, weird lives, we live these in these like really strange ways of like thinking, and sort of just nonsense, really. So delusional as a species, already are when it comes to relationships. It's like really, really naive. Because the last thing you want to do if you're already in a relationship that's not kind of working out, the last thing you want to do is go on holiday, because once that holiday wears off, everything's kind of going to be amplified. So if there's already kind of like tension in the relationship anyway, it's going to be like magnified, because obviously if you haven't been on holiday in a long time, then and you aren't going to be going on one for another few months or another year or whatever, it's like all like realizations start setting in, and the thing is, I think if you can't tolerate someone anyway, then like the last thing you want to do is go on a holiday with them, because one, like the part of you, like you don't really truly know what people are going to be like when they're on holiday. And it's like, and sometimes people fuck people over on holidays as well. Like, and I reckon it's probably a lot of couples that end up getting a divorce like post holiday. Like I reckon like it's like within like a few hours or a few days or a week, a couple of weeks, whatever, after they get back off holiday, I reckon like a lot of people break up. Because once like the realization of like normality sets in, and obviously going through that kind of like temporary kind of like blues depression kind of shit, you've got to go back to work, and the kind of tedious predictability of everything kicks back in again. You just think, oh god, this fucking bullshit again. Especially if it's a holiday you enjoyed, but also if it's a holiday you didn't enjoy, then that's even worse. Because you think, well, if we can't even enjoy ourselves on a fucking holiday, then it's like it's game over, isn't it? Really. I mean, I wouldn't even necessarily enjoy. I would say it's like if you're finding it more and more difficult to tolerate each other on a holiday, then maybe you shouldn't bother anymore. It's like you should just say, let's just call it a day. Let's pack up and just move on. It's not working, is it? I mean, it's like look, everybody has moments on their holidays, whether you're in a relationship or not, where you just get irritated by something unexpected happens. You lose a bit of money, or I don't know. There's all sorts of crap that can happen. Your flight's delayed, or your fucking bag arrives late to the airport or something, whatever it might be. Some issues with the hotel, blah blah blah. there are always going to be annoyances and things that piss you off anyway, especially if you're someone that's already kind of struggling with irritability and bouts of anger for whatever reasons. You're just a kind of more naturally a bit more of a moody person like I am. Not excessively moody, I would say, but just kind of, you're just someone that kind of like snaps when you expect more out of people, more out of things. Especially on holiday where you were you spent all that money and you spent so long preparing for it and gone through all the shenanigans or everything. Sometimes you just think to yourself, it's like, I just wish I never bothered with it. I just wish I never bothered with all the hassle of it. And I've had holidays like that, trust me, where actually you're actually glad to get home. You're glad to be in the comfort of your own home again. You're glad to be back to normality because it was that bad. It was just so underwhelmingly shit. It was just so. I just didn't meet your expectations. That sometimes you come home and you think, I'm just better off. I could have saved myself a lot of money. I would have just been happy just in. Because that's the thing is, as you get older, I think you want more familiarity. You want that consistency. You want that. I think, and the reason for that is I think as you get older, like you just tolerance starts to dip. Your ability to your metabolism slowing down, and as a result, your body's fucking it gets tired out more quickly. Your brain's not as at its maximum efficiency. It's not at its peak anymore in many ways. It's like, don't get me wrong. It's good. It's good to get away. It's nice to have some time to yourself away from the endless expectations of just, your average day. Just your normal day to day crap. And just in general, anyway. Just the endlessly tedious, predictable, mediocre nature of your chores and your job and. Sometimes you get sick and tired of staring, being in the same bed, being in the same living room, being around in the same area all the time, etc. Sometimes you just get really fed up of it all, and you do need to have a break every now and again. There's no doubt about that. But I think you also it's important that. I think it's important to really try and work on the things that are actually that in many ways have pushed you towards that holiday. The deeper stuff that's going on in your life that's pushing you that's pushing you towards escapism. Because essentially, let's face it, that's what holidays are, aren't they? They're a temporary escape from the normal day-to-day sameness of your life. It's a chance to break out of that kind of chained up sort of feeling of is this all there is to it all? Is this all I'm doing? It's like, especially if you work 5 or 6 days a week. You come back every day. You're exhausted. Maybe a bit angry, just fed up, and kind of just kind of a bit over it all, tired of it all after a while. Especially if you've been in a job a long term or career long term. I think life can kind of start dragging you down. Can kind of start to feel like it's overwhelming you. Things start to become a real burden, and you just kind of get a bit tired of being yourself. Really, the holidays are definitely important things to give you just that bit of a break, that bit of a release temporarily. But at the same time, I think in many ways they don't actually help us. I don't think they don't really bring us the things that we think we're going to get out of them. It's all good and well, booking a week in Spain or in Asia or I don't know where, going to America or whatever, or the Caribbean or wherever it is, your choice of holiday. But I think a lot of the time people tend to, people think that their holidays are somehow the cure to all of their problems in their life. It's like, see, some people go on regular holidays every few months. Some people take maybe one or two a year. Some people take maybe one every couple of years. A long one, maybe 2 or 3 weeks away or something. I don't know, whatever. As if these things are somehow going to be. And again, I'm not saying you shouldn't. If you've got the money, if you've got the time, obviously go and travel, live your life, go out there and see some shit and do some things. But I'm just saying that don't put unrealistic expectations upon something that. Don't expect your holidays to be some kind of cure for everything. Just be, like I said in my previous video, these people talk about finding themselves abroad. It's like, I think if you're looking through external forms of comfort, of ways to deal with the various kind of depths of whatever it is, whatever's going on in your life, to try and fill those holes or some things like that. I don't really think a holiday to Rome is necessarily going to be the cure for it. It's like, really, you think in the end, all you're just doing is just external gratification. It's just a quick. It's just like a kind of. It's just delusion. I think a lot of it's just born out of delusion, really. It's comfort and a need for comfort and convenience. And it's just it's an easy, convenient, temporary halt to your life, isn't it? It's essentially I'm not going to be who I really am for the next 2 weeks, kind of an experience. It's I'm going to put on a kind of bit of an exaggerated kind of persona, if you like, because that's what people really are on holiday, really, in many ways. It's like not necessarily fake, but not necessarily entirely who they are. It's like everyone's kind of on the best behaviour and everyone's in a relatively good mood, I would say, for the most part. So you're not really seeing people exactly how they really are. And I think we go on holiday with that carrying that around with us, and it kind of leads us to believe that things are actually a lot better than they really are. They can give us this very kind of false sense of security, false sense of realism about what's going on in our lives, and sometimes actually it kind of can actually make things worse, because they make us feel better for a period of time, and so we kind of we delay dealing with the things that are going on with us. If you see what I mean, because obviously, if you've got had a good holiday, and because sometimes you can, that feeling can linger on for a while, a couple of weeks, a couple of months, whatever, and because you're thinking about the next one. Obviously, as soon as you're getting on that plane to come back, you think, if you've had a good holiday, you're obviously probably going to be planning the next one sometime soon, whether it's the same place or somewhere else. And and again, I'm not. Of course, people should go on holidays and go out there and see other cultures and how things operate in other parts of the world, and learn some stuff, and have some new experiences. That's great. That's one of the wonderful parts about the modern era, is it? That, well, if you've got money and a stable job anywhere, then you can do that. But not everyone does. So thank yourself lucky if you can do that. But at the same time, don't expect holidays to somehow, be a new lick of paint, be a new batch of new wallpaper over the the cracks in your life or whatever it is. It's like it's somehow some kind of a filler. Well, it is a filler. It's a temporary filler. It's. But as I said, I don't kind of, as much as I like traveling, I've done a little bit of it over here in Asia, Southeast Asia, but I don't know. There comes a point where you just kind of think to yourself, well, why am I doing this? Like, why am I actually going away here? Is it just, am I actually like going to learn something? Am I actually going to, and sometimes you don't always know. I accept that. You don't always know how things are going to turn out. Sometimes you can learn some stuff you didn't plan on learning. Sometimes you end up having experiences you didn't know you were going to have. So of course, there are always going to be unpredictable things that happen. But I think in terms of like meaning, you've got to ask yourself, like, what you're doing. Why are you actually going on holiday? Like, is it just to get away from things? Is it because you genuinely want to go there? And I think a lot of the time it's down to, people tell themselves, I really want to go here, but what they really mean, I think, is that they have this sort of fantasy, this image in their head of some place that because they've seen a video or someone told them about it or something, so they want to kind of go and live out that need to fulfill that little bubble in their head, And again, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying that, just be careful be careful, like, don't like live in denial, don't like live in this state of self-deception about why you're doing the things you're doing, why you're delaying things, because it's so easy to do that. It's so easy to put things on the back burner for months, years, even decades sometimes, and just continue living your life as you normally do, not really kind of making any real significant changes in your life that would actually make you happier in your normal day-to-day life, rather than you just kind of escaping for a couple of weeks to kind of feel a sense of contentness with yourself, to feel a kind of that somehow your life means something, that there's some purpose to it. But that's because that's the thing, isn't it? It's like, I think there's a lot of that stuff going as well. Oh, well, I get to travel around a bit, I get to see some places, so that brings my life meaning. Well, does it really? Does it? Okay, you've got a few stamps in your passport, you've got a few pictures, but does it though? Has it really helped you? Okay, you've seen some stuff, you've got some sunburn, you've got some cash, you've got some euros or dollars or whatever. But like, are there any like genuinely like tangible things that actually, I don't know, maybe it's just me. I don't know, maybe I just seek deeper kind of connections to things in life. I don't, maybe it's just that. And I just expect too much out of people, but that's me. I kind of think I like to do things because not just because I want to, but there's meaning in it. There's some purpose behind it. It's not just doing it for the sake of it. And because I think a lot of the times in my own life, I've just wanted to get away just because there was trouble going on. There was all sorts of shit going on in my personal life, and I didn't really want to confront it. So what did? I spent so and so amount of money for the next couple of days or whatever, going to this place, forget, because essentially a holiday is basically an opportunity to forget about everything, isn't it? No responsibility. You don't have to be accountable. You don't have to deal with anything. You can pretend you're happy for the next, well, maybe you are sort of briefly happy for, I don't know, however long you're on holiday for. But then as you get back, that reality crushes you. It always does. It always does with me. I've always found that really, really difficult to deal with, like, for all sorts of reasons, because it's really difficult to snap back into reality, into that repetitive cycle of the same old shit, like the same, the very reason, the same, that's that when you get back, you realise that. It's like, oh, yeah, now that I've realised why I went on holiday now, to get away from all this stuff, to get away from that annoying neighbour, that annoying dog, that annoying co-worker, that annoying boss, the fact that this isn't working, that's not working, blah, blah, blah. So I don't know. Sometimes I just kind of I find myself thinking like, what's the point? You know, what? Sometimes I'd rather just stay at home. Honestly, I'd rather just watch other people on holiday than go on holiday myself. Because I don't know. I'm finding it more and more kind of just a bit shit, really. I mean, it's one thing if you're on your own, and I can understand, you know, what over here in Southeast Asia, there's a lot of independent travellers, and I get it now, I understand it. I didn't really get it in my 20s, but now I do. It's like it's not so much that people drag you down, but it's just that I think it's just easy. It's easy, you know, sometimes it's hard to tolerate yourself, let alone other people. So it's sometimes it's easier just to be by yourself. You haven't got all their emotional, psychological baggage to deal with, and all the irritations that are going to happen along the way. Because there are always going to be things that piss you off on holiday. It's a matter of time. There's always going to be something. Someone overcharges you. Someone's trying to rip you off. You know, fucking some crap happens somewhere, and you end up getting into trouble, or you lose your bloody passport. Whatever. There's so many different things. And the last thing you want to do is have to deal with somebody else's annoyance if you're already annoyed yourself. You know, other people's sources of irritation that they're expressing along with your own. You know, it's like it's hard to deal with that. I think, especially if you're someone like me, it's like, you know, I've got a lot of empathy for people. You know, I understand that life's difficult anyway. Even when you're on holiday, life can still be difficult in many ways. So I get it. I understand the need for holidays, but I understand why people, in many ways, don't want to go on holiday. Or rather, they prefer to go on local holidays rather than going abroad. And I think as I'm getting older, I think that's kind of something that's, I don't know. Of course, I would like to see more of the world, but at the same time, sometimes I just don't know if I've got the energy for it anymore. I just don't know if I've got the patience to deal with people and annoying situations anymore. That's the problem. It's that my levels of patience are dropping every year, and my irritability is getting higher every year. I don't know if that's a common process in men over a certain age. I assume it probably is, and I guess it's probably linked to declining testosterone. I don't know. But whatever the case may be, I think really, as I'm getting older, I'm realising I kind of don't really like spending time with other people that much. Sorry to say, I don't particularly really like spending time around people that I might respect them, I might even like them to a certain degree, but I just don't really want to be around them in this particular context. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just don't really feel their energy. We don't bounce off each other. You know, we're just not compatible as holiday buddies, you know, or we're just not really, there's nothing there, there's no energy there, there's no, just nothing there. It's a dead, you know, I don't know, it's just dead. It just feels like it's too much work for someone like me. That's the truth of it. It's just too much effort. It's too much work. It's too demanding all the time. And some people are just naturally like that. They expect you to meet their levels of like energy, and so demanding, and they're so quick to judge you when you falter. You know, when you would slightly just, you know, have a bit of a kind of sigh to yourself, or it's obvious that, you know, you're kind of, you're struggling to look happy, you're struggling to look like you're enjoying yourself. And that's something that I've found multiple times with my partner and with her siblings sometimes. I'm choosing my words very carefully here. Yeah, I just find them sometimes to be a little bit, just a bit too excessive for my liking, really. They're not bad people, no, but I just find them that they're not the kinds of people that I can tolerate for very long. And I'm trying to be as respectful and as nice as I can here. But, don't get me wrong, I am a decent person. I genuinely really do try hard to be a decent person, to be understanding and to be caring and generous and helpful and polite and accommodating and everything else. I really do try, but because of that excessive need to be liked and to be respected, it's draining. It's really exhausting, and so because of that, it essentially, like, everything, it kind of becomes like a performance. It becomes this, by the time you're, by the time you've towards the middle of your, wherever you've gone away to, you find yourself, you're already exhausted, and you've barely spent a day with these people. It's like you're already kind of a bit over it, and it shows. That's the thing, is it shows. It's written all over your face, and the thing is, then they know it, they see it. Well, some people will anyway. And good fucking luck to you. Good luck trying to, suppress that kind of stuff. It's like it's extremely difficult to make it look like you're not uncomfortable. It's very, very difficult. But again, what do you do then? How are you supposed to deal with things like that? You just be honest about it. So, I'm sorry, I didn't really find you that funny, but I'm sorry, I'm just kind of finding this whole fucking thing a bit kind of boring, really. I don't know, I just didn't really enjoy that food, really. It's like, and the problem is when somebody else has paid for the holiday as well. That's the worst part, because you feel even more pressured to make an effort to make it look like you're, enjoying it much more than you normally would. Because especially when they're with the family or their friends or whatever, it's like, it just becomes a nightmare. The whole lot of it just becomes so taxing on you, and you just think to yourself, I just don't invite me in the future, please. Please don't fucking invite me. If we're going, and the thing is, well, there's so many things that end up like end up dragging you into along the way. And you just think to yourself, it's like, why did you invite me along to this? Why am I here? Why did you ask me to come? What am I doing here? Because have you just been trying to annoy me for the past fucking 24 hours or what? Because you fucking have. I mean, did you deliberately decide to tell me the last minute that that so and so was going to be coming along, and that we were going to be doing this fucking activity that you know full well that I don't want to do? We're going to be meeting this person that you know full well I don't particularly like. I get tired of that shit, man. I really, really fucking tired of that crap. I know this video's going all over the place, just like the others. I don't mean for it to, but I don't know. It's just exhausting. The whole lot of it's exhausting. People are exhausting. Holidays are exhausting. Ironically, as it is to say that, it's just, so many times you come back from a holiday and you think, right, I don't want another holiday for another 2 years. If that's what you can expect from a holiday, I'd rather just not bother. It's like, and if I'm going to be getting dragged along into this, and it's just that again, it's that lack of consideration. That's that thing of inconveniencing other people because something's comfortable to you. It's in your benefit to do something because you want to do it, because you like it. Because you wanted to go here, because you wanted to eat at that place, because you wanted to go and check this out, but you didn't consult me about it. And there's some just that really kind of like got to me kind of today, this afternoon when I came back and I was putting everything away. I was already kind of, I had a bit of sunburn, so I was like, just wasn't particularly in a great mood really, as I think you've probably been able to tell throughout this video. And I was putting shit away as you do, you're fucking taking your clothes out your bag and putting the dirty crap in the washing machine and blah blah. And I was just like thinking, like, it's like, why did you invite me to this fucking thing? Like, why do you even bother telling me? Like, and there's just so many times, like, I've found myself in situations with people that I knew I wasn't going to like. I just knew I wasn't going to like it. I knew it was going to be a clusterfuck. I knew I was setting myself up for fucking misery in one form or another. And I was just like, and I knew better. And the thing is, the worst part about it is if you haven't had a break for a while, you kind of forget things. And then when you go back, when you have another break away, you think to yourself, I should have known better. I knew, you just find yourself saying, I knew this was going to happen. I just fucking knew it. I knew we were going to end up doing this. I knew this was going to happen at this point. I knew, generally speaking, sort of like where this whole fucking dynamic was going to end up, kind of thing. And so you just find yourself kind of just getting annoyed with the whole thing and think, so why did you even bother going in the first place? Sometimes you just kind of think to yourself, was it worth it? Was it worth bothering with? When people don't consult you beforehand about things, and then they give you that look of like, oh, why aren't you enjoying this? Why aren't you happy? Why aren't you feeling this right now? Well, I don't know. Maybe because you didn't tell me we're going to be doing this. Maybe because, like, as usual, I don't get consulted about things. Because you want to do it and I don't. I don't know. It's just a thought. Maybe it's just me, but we're supposed to be like, in this kind of thing called a relationship. I thought relationships are involved two people, don't they? Two people making decisions, two people caring about about each other respectively, about their each respective person's level of comfort. And as far as I'm concerned, it's like, if you're not doing that, then if you're only doing what you want to do and you don't give a fuck about the other person's sense of comfort, then that tells me there's something wrong with that situation, because that tells me that you don't respect them as a person, you don't respect their comfort, you don't respect their sense of their overall kind of character. And the thing is as well, is like, they know that certain things are going to annoy you, and I sometimes think that they do it deliberately to piss you off. And then you just think, so, well, why did you invite me on this trip then? Like, why are you involving me in this thing? Why did you ask me to come along? Because if you know that I don't want to meet that person that you want to meet, you know that I'm not interested in this, and this, that you are. So it was like, yeah, well, I don't know. I just wanted to include. Well, then fucking don't include me in it. I don't want to do that. I don't want to meet that person that I've told you like fucking 10 times already that I don't like and I don't want to talk to. We've got nothing in common. We've got no compatibility. The conversation's going to run dry within 5 minutes. Everything's going to get awkward and cringy. Right? So why are you inviting me to this? Well, I just thought it might be a good... Yeah, for you. For you it is. If you want to go and have a break and do this and this, fine, I don't care. Do what you want to do. You have a blast. Go and have fun. If you do whatever you want to do. But if you're gonna invite me, then there's conditions involved. It's like, and this is the problem in most relationships, as far as I can tell. No one person or the other person, they don't set boundaries. And then what ends up happening then is then one person that becomes more dominant than the other one, and they make all the decisions, they control everything. And that's it. The other person's fucked. That's it. They get dragged into everything. They're expected to just fucking be happy. And as well as when that other person's or their family or their friends are more kind of naturally buoyant and extroverted and just sort of more naturally energetic than you, they're gonna see it in your face. It's gonna be written all over your face. if you fucking buckle under pressure or stress or awkwardness and you don't maintain that same level of enthusiasm and energy that they have. And fucking good luck hiding that. Trust me, I've tried it. It doesn't work. The more you try and hide it away, the more obvious it is. So it's like, I like getting away. I like having a bit of time to myself and getting away from the mundane normality of everyday life. Trust me. But if you're going to invite me, then invite me on the grounds that well, first of all, consult me as part of this whole thing, because I'm the one that's giving up my time to go there. I don't have to. I could have stayed at home if I wanted to, but I chose not to because I wanted to make you happy. But again, that's the problem, isn't it? This is the problem. Once you decide that you're gonna spend your life making other people happy, even though you're uncomfortable and miserable, well, that's how you can expect the rest of that relationship to go. Because over time, that'll become a habit. They'll get used to it. And again, that's just before I go here, you got to set boundaries. You got to put your foot down with people and say, look, I'm willing to tolerate this. I'm willing to do that. I might even do that. I'm not a complete fucking social recluse or anything. I'm not a complete what would you say, non-try or anything. I don't even mind getting out of my comfort zone from time to time. But my point is, if we're going to be doing certain things that I might be uncomfortable with, please tell me. It's like I wouldn't. If that's the thing is, if you actually told me, I'd be more willing to do it. Because you consult me, and for me that's important because I feel respected, that you valued my input in this whole thing. And so I'm like, oh yeah, I appreciate it. Because that's for men. That matters more than anything else, for us to feel wanted, valued, respected, appreciated, to show a bit of gratitude every now and again. And when we no longer feel like we're getting any of that stuff, that's it. It's finished. Trust me, most men disconnect from their relationships, their marriages, long before they end. Believe you me. They really do. It could be weeks, could be months, could be years. Sometimes it's even decades. And do you know why they stay? Because they fear change, they fear being alone, they fear the shame, the embarrassment, the fear having to swallow the pride and accept that they got it wrong, that they fucked up, that they made mistakes, they didn't set boundaries, they didn't respect themselves. And so men stay in unhappy relationships. And yeah, women do as well. But mostly, I think it's men. That's mostly men. I think for women, most of the time, women stay in unhappy relationships and marriages because of kids, I would say, or money probably. But for men, I think a lot of it's just down to the last thing a man wants to have to say is, "Oh, I left because of fucking because I became a little bitch in a relationship, and my wife was basically walking all over me and making all the rules and fucking." My wife was wearing the trousers in the relationship. No man ever wants to say that, because no man will ever be respected by any other man if he ever says something like that. So for men, there's a lot of shame involved. There's a lot of, fucking your pride's in the gutter the moment you say stuff like that. So most women will never ever admit it. So the next time you see a couple together, just be mindful of that stuff, because you don't really know what's going on behind closed doors. You don't know what the realities of that relationship is. And just before I'm going to go now, but when it comes to holidays, there's often a lot of the time when it comes to couples, especially long-term couples or marriages, don't be fooled by them laughing and smiling on holiday, because you don't know what the fuck's really going on. For all you know, they might have had a fucking massive argument a day before they were on holiday, or they might have one when they get back. You don't know what status their relationship is in. So just don't be fooled by everything you see. Trust me, it's not always what you think it is. And if you're going to go on a holiday, go on it for the right reasons and not just as a form of escapism. Because most people do. Because they can't deal with their lives. They haven't accepted what's really going wrong with them and their lives, their partners, their kids, their jobs, etc. You know, it's like, and so the quick fix is, I'll just go on holiday for a couple of days. I'll go on holiday. I don't know, but that's the way I see it. You know, let me know what you think. You know, obviously holidays have the place. I'm not saying you shouldn't go on them, but just be very careful. If I were you, just be very careful. Just be mindful of like what you're really actually genuinely doing. Catch you on the next one.